Hello, this is Mark Van Gelder of Subvert.gov. Today is February 7th, Thursday. Today I took, this is my second video, my second video of two videos for today. The first one was related to ABC covering Anonymous's hack at the Federal Reserve, which you can probably see right before this one, and how they selectively censored Greg Hausch. And this one is about my experiences today as an anarchist activist. So today I took a personal day from work, so I was still getting paid. So I figured I have a day where I can actually conduct a social experiment. And I wanted to see what it would be like to be a one-man protest around the downtown of Salt Lake City. And my experience today has been amazing. I loved it. I think that I would love to do a lot more of it. If I could get paid for it. I had considered putting up a thing saying that I've got free pamphlets, but donations are accepted. But really, it's like I can't bring myself to beg for money from anybody. You know, I've got enough money as it is, and so I can survive, and maybe in a future time I'll actually try the experiment, seeing how much I can make in a day. That was kind of the idea, to see if one could actually make a living off it. But really, more or less, I wanted to find out what works when it comes to single-person street-level protesting. And today, I want to talk about what I have found. I did basically 4 different actions. I had 4 posters. Each of them, let me go run and grab them really fast. I'll be back in like 30 seconds, and I'll show you the ones that I had brought with me. Let me make sure I got my keys. So I got I guess my car door's unlocked. Okay, give me 30 seconds. I'll be right back with the posters that I had available. All right, thanks for your patience. So, the first poster I had was, this one says, "Government is violence with the Circle A." This one got medium, people really didn't, some liked it, some didn't, so whatever. Next one is actually a play off of Woody Guthrie. Woody Guthrie did on his guitar, he wrote "This Machine Kills Fascists." And I liked this one. This is my personal favorite, but people don't like the idea of killing anybody. So I would recommend not using something like this until you've actually shown them the rest of what you have to say. Because this ended up being a lot more powerful when people had read the other stuff that happened, or the other stuff that I had written. One is, "The government can take away our children. Since when do they own our kids?" This one was actually pretty effective. I was surprised how effective it was. I mean, it's a good point, like government doesn't own our kids. Nobody owns our kids. We don't even own our own kids. Our kids own themselves. And they should have the right to choose whether they want to leave or whether they want to stay. And that's really what it comes down to. You should give the choice to the children. Next one is voting for the lesser of two evils. How's voting for evil working out for you? This is actually a play on one of those sarcastic Willy Wonka, memes. I actually started. I was writing this as somebody was talking to me about the guns one I have right here, and as he was talking about guns, I was writing voting for the lesser of two, and he's talking about guns, guns, guns. I started writing out guns, and I was like, God damn it, fucking! So I had to blank it out and voting for the lesser of two evils. So this one was very, very effective. Very effective. This is probably the most effective one that I've found. Taxation is theft. War is murder. Government is evil. I didn't even bother pulling off the labels off this. I got myself 4 of these posters. I got myself one of those Magnum Sharpies, and like a smaller Sharpie. And all told, the supplies were like $30 for the 4 poster boards. I mean, they're poster board, so they're pretty durable. The one that's just straight white on white is like $2.99 over at Michael's, which is an art supply shop. The ones that have color on one side are $5.99. I would have preferred to have just the $2.99 ones, but they didn't have enough of those, so I had to basically buy the more expensive ones. If I would have gone with the $2.99 ones, or just the all white ones, that probably would have saved me about $12, so it probably would have only been $18 altogether. But it was $30 for all these supplies. So taxation is theft, war is murder, government is evil. I got pretty good reviews from this, but one guy said, "I agree with you on 2 of those things," and then you ask him like, "Which 2?" And then most people just kind of blow you off. But this one, it's a good start for getting people to question what these different things really mean in the context of society. Can't say necessarily how effective they would be, but it was, at least it kind of jars them out of their comfort zone. This one, really effective. It says over half of Americans think government is a threat to their freedom, which is a Pew Research poll that was released recently. And this is true. This is not me just making up statistics. That's true. Even Democrats and non-gun owners are nearly half of them. 38% of Democrats and 45% of non-gun owners believe that government is a threat to their freedom. This is a very good poster for using to sort of break the ice, because at that point, you're not saying I'm an anarchist, etc. Like just angry against the state. It's just saying like, hey, there are like typically out of a group, you're going to have about half the people that are going to agree with you on this statement, and at that point, it can open them up to further discussion. So this one, very good. Sorry for showing you all of them. I just wanted to show you like what I like the materials I wrote with. So this is like a take on a picture I posted earlier, which was on cardboard with Sharpie on it. But basically, if they take your guns, use the black market. Or when they take your guns. See, the initial one I did said if they take your guns, which is sort of like saying that they may or may not take your guns. But we all know that eventually the government's going to come towards gun confiscation. So I figured it was probably more effective to use the word when they take your guns. So when they take your guns, use the black market with an exclamation point this time. Of course, the anarchist and voluntarist symbols. People often ask like what these different mean. People typically know what the anarchist one means. Voluntarist symbol, not a lot of people know about. So use the voluntarist symbol, and people will typically ask you, what does that mean? And then you can explain the concept of voluntarism. So I'd recommend using both to show that anarchism and voluntarism are sort of mutually the same thing, a different way of looking at different way of looking and getting the same result. And the last one is, I'm not homeless, I have pamphlets. I decided to write this one because I didn't want to be perceived as like the homeless crazy guy that's out there, like begging for money. I just wanted to say, hey, I'm not homeless. I've got a job. I've got a life. I've got a house. I mean, I live in my uncle's house, but I have a place to live. I'm not begging for money. The next one that I want to do would be sort of a play on this, saying, I'm not homeless. I have pamphlets. Donations accepted. This is, like basically in these different posts, I want to put in there that basically, hey, I do want to make a profit off of activism if I can, but I'm not asking for your money. I'm just saying, hey, if you have some cash you want to give over, I'm willing to take it, and it helps me, keep doing what I'm doing if you support the idea. But like I said, none of my pamphlets solicited money, and I did not get any unsolicited donations. With my first try here a couple days ago, I did it for about 30 minutes, and I got 2 unsolicited donations. But I was sort of in the suburbs, where gun control is more of a hotly contested issue. I was in this case I was down in downtown Salt Lake City, which is a really liberal city, and not a whole lot of support for gun control, but for people that you could tell when somebody supported gun control, and it was one of like 3 people, right? It was either like the guys in their 50s with the beards down to here, right? They supported that. The druggies, or I guess you could say the potheads or stoners or whatever, they supported it because I was openly advocating black markets, and they use the black market all the time. They just don't recognize it as black market. They see it as illegal and like the government thinks it's scary, and they know it's not that scary. It's just like mutual transactions. So people that support the black market were also really good, and just just scattered around people. Like occasionally people go, that's a very good point. Like the black markets will exist even if the government criminalizes gun sales. So my thing is I wanted to test out the one about when they take your guns, use the black market. That's the one I wanted to test out today, and that's the one that I primarily used. And I did get a lot of positive reviews from it. I only got one person, like out of the whole downtown community, I got one person who sarcastically said, "That's a great message to send to the kids." I got a couple of elderly people in their cars that read it and were going like, But on the whole, people were either neutral or positive towards it. So let's talk about positioning. I tried it in four different locations. I tried it on a freeway off ramp, right? I tried doing this on a freeway off ramp for about an hour. I tried doing it in like walking around the streets, basically going up and down the main street, like State Street, sort of the downtown locations where I figured crowds would be located. Just walking up and down, silently walking with my sign, and not really a whole lot of effective. That wasn't really effective. I did standing out at street corners in downtown locations, also not really effective. But where I found that it was extremely effective, and where I was able to actually pass out pamphlets very, very easily, was in locations of sort of terminals for public transit. And I think that the reason is that unlike these other locations where people are sort of on the move, they don't really get a chance to digest what you're saying. In public transit locations, you have people sitting around for 10 minutes with nothing to do, just waiting for the train. They see a guy with a sign, And people actually walked up to me and were asking me, "Hey, so what's this sign about? Like, what do you believe in?" And then I go, "Well, I'm an anarchist. I have pamphlets. If you want some, I can give them to you, and totally free. Here's some pamphlets." And as soon as like one person gets a pamphlet, then you have like 5 or 6 other people that come over, and they want a pamphlet. And so you're just passing out pamphlets, and then one person will engage in a conversation with you and ask you like, what does it mean to be an anarchist? You seem to be against the government, but why? And then you sort of explain like voluntarism, ethical principles, uh, and non-aggression, self-ownership. Those things are things that people really like turned on to, and the majority of people that I actually got a chance to talk to uh, came out and said, I really do hate the government. I do. And they said, and for the most part, I'm an anarchist. I said, well, most likely, if you say for the most part you're an anarchist, you're probably a minarchist. And I would go into explanations about what minarchism is, libertarianism, like American style libertarianism, minarchism, anarchism, and saying that, you know, anarchists don't view it as the government is unnecessary, right? Because government may in fact be necessary. But as anarchists, we have a moral philosophy, at least for me, who's a synthesist. I believe that the one thing that can sort of unite all of the branches of anarchism is the non-aggression principle and voluntarism. As long as people are not forced into an economic system or a political system, and they operate on their own free will, then it's not necessarily immoral. Um, so I used voluntarism in saying that the initiation of violence is never justified against any other person, and we should not make exceptions or exemptions for things like government. And and that's the way it's been throughout all of history, is that people have had one standard and governments have had a different standard. I prefer putting everybody on the same ethical standard. And even minarchists that believe in a minimal amount of government and a minimal amount of taxation don't believe in that basic premise that all people should be held at the same standard. Because they believe in a monopoly of violence, and that was very effective in convincing a bunch of people. Um, Long story short, probably in the course of 30 minutes sitting at a train station. I'm really glad I found myself there because I took the train. It's actually a light rail, but I took the light rail, which is called tracks, into downtown. I got off. I walked around, did the freeway off ramp thing, did the street corner thing, walked around some more, and then somebody approached me and they go, "Hey man, do you know how to get to the university?" He's like, "I've got a thyroid problem and I feel like I might fall over. So can you help me get to the track so I can get to the university?" And I said, "Sure, no problem." And I actually had to convince him for me to help him. I'm like, "Hey, listen, man. You need to get to the University Medical Center. I'll help you get to the track station so you can get on the train to head there." And so after about 10 minutes of convincing him, we found we made our way like maybe a half block to where this bus or this tracks terminal was. And as we were sitting there, I was talking with him. He saw my signs and he was interested, and I talked to him about anarchism and basically the abolition of government. He explained that he'd been in prison a couple of times. That his life was basically fucked up by the government. Like he's like he now can't do the things that he really wants to do because it's illegal. He's afraid of going back to prison. And I said, like, as an anarchist, you got to basically just ignore the government. Um, and so we got into a discussion, and then as we got into the discussion, then people were turning and watching us as we're talking, and I noticed that people were actually watching what we're having to say, and people seemed interested, And I had my one sign out. I had like the four of them stacked clumped together, right? And so I basically, as I'm talking to this guy, I'd find another sign and flip it over, and then people would be like, they'd get like this shocked moment, and then they'd like kind of warm up to it, and then gradually I can see that people are more and more interested. I ask him, hey, would you like a flyer? And then totally free. And so I'm basically just passing out flyers at that point. And at that point I realized that public transit terminals are really great places because people are stuck there. And you're going to have people with nothing to do. And so, what are they going to do other than listen to a conversation and perhaps get interested in the conversation? And maybe you might say something that all of a sudden clicks for them. And so, if you're going to do something like this, avoid yourself all the hassle of walking up and down the streets. Avoid yourself the hassle of sitting on street corners. You know, avoid yourself the hassle of freeway off ramps because people will not understand the things that are on the board. They won't understand that shit until you actually get into conversation with them. And what better place to get into conversation with somebody than in a place where there's a dozen people that are around you that are kind of stuck listening to you. And so I said, I think I may have figured it out. Use public transit terminals because people are going to have to listen to you anyway, whether they want to or not. And the good majority, the vast bulk of people who listen to it become interested. They want to know what's going on. So they want to know what you have to think. I think one sign I want to make in the future would be that my Sharpie is more powerful than their guns. That's one that I want to make in the future and see how that goes. But we'll see. I had an excellent time, and it really exhausted me because I probably walked about 6 or 7 miles today, just doing the walking around the city. It was nice to walk around the city. I can't deny that. I really enjoy Salt Lake City. It's a beautiful city if you've never been there. Beautiful city. You got the mountains like literally right there up against the city. Um, uh, the people there are very friendly. There are homeless, but they're typically just too strung out to really care about a whole lot. Um, and yeah, so if you guys ever find yourself in Salt Lake City in the next month or so, because I'm planning on moving to North Carolina, but if you ever find yourself in Salt Lake City in the next month or so, let me know, and I'll see if I can accommodate you, show you around, have a good time. Well, again, this is Mark Van Gelder of SubvertGov. Wanted to give you my opinion on the best ways to conduct a single person protest. Thank you.